It was another quiet night at the office. No phone calls, no messages, nothing but junk mail and overdue bills to keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks, good afternoon and welcome to the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Radio Central AM 830 WCRN. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and you can join the conversation for the next hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. I hope everyone had a fantastic holiday weekend with Mother's Day. Was out yesterday a little crowded. Hard to find parking spots yesterday, but I hope everyone had and especially you moms out there, had a fantastic Mother's Day. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. And, of course, our text line is up and running at 617-297-8388. 617-297-8388. You text it like you anybody else would, like you do anybody, and it appears here on a screen in the studio, and we try to incorporate it in real time. Now, the station does stream 24/7 on the TuneIn app. That means you can take us anywhere. I love this device. Getting in and out of the car, jumps from the phone to the Bluetooth speakers in the car. It's a great way to keep the continuity going. And, of course, you can always watch and listen to my show on my social media platforms, which you can follow at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show. So you can watch it on Facebook and X and Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile. Then we do stream to Rumble. There is a Joe Mangiacotti Show page on Rumble, so check that out. Now, my show is later loaded up to the new streaming channel, Twitch TV. So if you don't have that, but you have a Roku or Fire Stick or Smart TV, you can download Twitch TV like you do Hulu or Netflix or any other TV channel and watch it there as well. Another great programming, by the way. And, of course, check out WCRNradio.com, and we do have a replay link. So that means all of the shows you can look up by host or time, and you can hit the replay link, and the very latest show will populate at the top of the page and going backwards. Now, the Joe Mangiacotti Show is turned into a podcast, which you can subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts, like Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Google Play, etc. You know how that works. All right, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Lines are open and available today. Behind the glass flying the board, they'll get you set up and into the studio. And we've got a few things I do want to cover today. We've got everything from of course, at the top of the news here, right? We've got this American hostage. And out of the darkness here, American hostage Edan Alexander is being released by Hamas as we're talking right now. It's been happening all morning. And what does that mean for U.S. policy? He has been released. President Trump, posted about this. He's going to the Red Cross and then IDF. We'll get into that. That's going on. We're going to touch on Trump's tariffs. We're seeing a great deal struck with China, and the market is skyrocketing this morning because of that. And, of course, the executive order on pharmacy prescriptions, which Trump did this at the end of his first term, too, and, of course, got sued to stop it. And then, of course, Joe Biden was trying to take credit for lowering pharmaceutical costs. But this is a big thing, guys. This is a big thing across the board. We'll talk a little bit about it. And again, you're having somebody coming from a business background and using the economic might of the United States purchasing, and I'm talking specifically about Medicare, which purchases the single largest purchaser of pharmaceuticals in the world. And we're going to talk a little bit about this Worcester City Councilor who's been accused of assaulting a police officer and riling up a mob to block an ICE arrest. And this is, we saw this down right in Jersey, where members of Congress and the mayor storm an ICE facility. They break into it, and they're shocked that there's consequences to this. And I do want to get your feedback on this because, quite frankly, if you were to interfere with a police officer or try to bust somebody else out of custody that the police just arrested for a crime, robbing a bank or assaulting a store clerk, take your pick. A crime's a crime. But once the system is in play and a police officer detains you, and not just detains you, but actually places you under arrest, and you're now in the custody of the police and the process has started, meaning I don't know why people freak out at that. If you're getting arrested, cooperate. Arguing on the street, especially like a stop at 2:00 in the morning, not a wise thing. Let everything go through the process. It's all documented. If they made a mistake, it's going to come out. You have, as they say, your day in court. So when you've got politicians doing this grandstanding and trying to make some kind of thing out of this, they've crossed the line. Exactly. So I posted the other day about somebody saying, hey, FBI is arresting judges for interfering with ICE arrests or detention. Is this what you voted for? Well, yeah, kind of. Again, how long did we hear nobody's above the law when it came to Donald Trump? But politicians and judges are allowed to break the law or aid and abet in the fleeing of a person with a detention order, or worse, a felony arrest warrant. But I do want to talk about Edan Alexander, because this is something. This 21-year-old, he's a dual U.S. citizen, U.S. and Israeli citizen, and he was taken hostage by Hamas back on October 7th of 23 during that incredibly coordinated, brutal attack on Israel, which triggered the ongoing war in Gaza. And of course, that in turn has resulted in these pro-Palestinian campus uprisings, yelling intifada to river to the sea. Majority of the people totally ignorant as to what that means and what they're calling for. It would have been like the brown shirts protesting on the campuses in 1930s in the United States. Now, he was serving in the Israeli military, as Israeli citizens do. And he's believed to be the last living American in Hamas captivity. So it was confirmed. We know that he's made it out into the Red Cross. Trump posted that about him happy to announce Edan Alexander is coming home. Now, Hamas claims Alexander's release is unconditional, tied to efforts to secure a ceasefire and increase humanitarian aid and begin intensive negotiations. Now, Trump did praise this as a step taken in good faith and credited mediators involved with this, which is Qatar and Egypt. And by the way, Qatar is making a pretty nice gift, by the way, $400 million Boeing that they want it to be used for future Air Force One. Let's put a pin in that conversation. I have some thoughts on that one. But the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's office clarified, and he said, look, Israel did not commit to any ceasefire or release of terrorists, only to a safe quarter for Edan's release. So again, we've got a spin going on here. But he's believed to be the last living American hostage in Gaza. That's 584 days he was in captivity, brutally kept. These people were kept in tunnels and underground, beaten at will, starved, begged for water. We're never going to know the details of what he and the other hostages actually went through. And they are scarred for life. They will never be the same. Their lives have altered permanently. And I can't even begin to understand what this 21-year-old has gone through and what the rest of his life will be. He's an Israeli-American IDF soldier and the last known living American hostage held in Gaza. But get what I'm saying, living American. They were bluffing for a long time that a lot of these hostages were already dead. They didn't want to let us know that they were dead, but they have returned a lot of remains and bodies. But he is in the process of coming home after 584 days in Hamas captivity. His release marks absolute major development in the ongoing hostage crisis, coming after direct negotiations between Hamas and the Trump administration. a process that notably bypassed the Israeli government, by the way, and also is totally absent in the Joe Biden administration. Maybe there was something going that they didn't talk about or we didn't know about it, but we didn't see any movement on this. And when American hostages are taken, we should, quite frankly, roar like the lion we are and use all might, economic, diplomatic, and yes, even military might, to ensure the future safety of American citizens. Hamas announced this morning, that Alexander was being released unconditionally. They say it's a gesture of goodwill toward the United States. Not towards Israel, of course, but to the United States. And of course, Qatar and Egypt, they're the middlemen, the in-between here. But the militant group spokesman, Abdu Abadia, confirmed in a video statement that the handover would happen today, and it has. He's gone to the Red Cross, he's going to an IDF hospital, and then back to Tel Aviv, where his mother and family are waiting for him. So that is happening, folks. And he was transferred first to the International Committee of the Red Cross, then a very special unit of the Israeli Defense Force. From there, he was taken to a reception center in Riyadh for, medical and psychological evaluations. So he's en route to Tel Aviv, where Edan Alexander, his mom, who flew in from New Jersey, is waiting to be reunited with her son. Now, the family did release a statement expressing overwhelming gratitude, you would think, right? Today, on Mother's Day, we received the greatest gift imaginable. News that our beautiful son, Edan, is returning home after 584 days in captivity in Gaza. We thank President Trump, his team, and the mediators who helped make it happen. We urge the Israeli government and all negotiators, please don't stop. Let Edan's release be the beginning of the end for all remaining hostages. So this is, look, he was taken captive, October 7th. Hamas-led assault on southern Israel left 1,200 dead that day and more than 250 kidnapped. But we have to take our first break here on the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. We will go to the phones right when we come back, so hold on, Mark, right to the phones after the break. Back in 2 and 10, folks. Having trouble with your cell phone? You need to visit Wireless World at 757 Grafton Street in Worcester. They fix any device, including cell phones, tablets, and computers, as well as game systems. Before you buy or replace it, bring it to Wireless World at 757 Grafton Street in Worcester. Need or want a new phone? You won't believe the prices at Wireless World, 757 Grafton Street in Worcester. Before you buy new or replace your current phone, check out Wireless World, 757 Grafton Street. That's Route 122 in Worcester. Life is full of changes. Some we choose, some we don't. But how we handle change, that makes all the difference. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and I'm bringing you Handling Change, a brand new show here on WCRN. Every week, we'll tackle life's biggest challenges and profile a local business or service that can help you navigate them. From career shifts to health, finances, and family. Whatever life throws your way, we've got you covered. Don't miss Handling Change, Thursdays at 10 a.m. on Radio Central WCRN 830 a.m., where New England comes to talk.
Polar Park is the place to play, so treat yourself to a private suite at the best ballpark in AAA. Suite rentals are the best way to enjoy a fully catered and climate-controlled experience at the park. Whether you choose to watch the game from inside of the suite or out in your seats, it's the ultimate experience for a special occasion. Visit WooSox.com or call 508-500-8888 to reserve your suite today.
Looking for a station that brings you all sides of the story? Tune in to 50,000 watt powerhouse WCRN, where the left and the right meet in the middle. Whether you lean left, lean right, or just want to stay informed, WCRN has you covered with diverse voices, lively debates, and thought-provoking discussions. From politics and health to pop culture, you'll hear it all right here. Radio Central, where opinions from both sides come together for the conversations that matter. From the center of the dial, the center of New England, and the center of information, AM 830, WCRN, Radio Central.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second segment of the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. And, of course, you can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. And our text line is 617-297-8388. And I want to tell you guys, I don't know if you already heard, but tomorrow I'll actually be broadcasting from Hudson and Stowe. The Heritage Museum is having a media day up there, and we'll broadcast the Joe Mangiacotti Show live from the museum. And this is and honestly, I didn't realize this opened. It only opened in 2019. And if time travel was possible, this would be it. They have vehicles and artifacts from the Revolutionary War all the way through modern times, including M1 and a Sherman tank, which I'm very much looking forward to riding in a Sherman tank tomorrow. But 1 to 2 will broadcast the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Heritage Museum Calling Center. They also have the aircraft, a lot of aircraft that's taken us through World War I and World War II. So they have a massive hangar there with these aircraft. Most of them are absolutely airworthy and do fly, and as well as the vehicles. And when they opened up at first, they did a large tour through the United States, flew the planes in, brought in the equipment, but you'll hear more about this tomorrow. So there'll be a live broadcast from the Heritage Museum in Hudson. Actually, the front is Hudson. Most of the building and the property is actually in Stowe, but we'll have more information. You can go check it out online at the American Heritage Museum.org. On call-in centers there. Go check it out. 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones. Mark's been waiting patiently. Hey, Mark, what say you?
Yeah, I got a lot of patience, but it's like they used to say in the military, it's SOP. Don't take it personally, buddy. Standard operating procedure. So this morning I'm listening to, on this station, the Morning Drive show. I won't even mention it. That guy calls in, right? And they're talking about, the incident at Eureka Street. With everybody knows about it. Everybody in the whole country knows about it now. So anyways, the guy calls in and he says, apparently, if I remember what he said correctly, that the Worcester Police Department put out some kind of statement on their whatever social media links they're linked up with, and apparently, according to him, make a long story short, is that in this message to the public, the Worcester Police Department made the statement that hold on, folks, this is an ongoing investigation, and we're reviewing the tapes. And maybe like they're going to review them frame by frame. And then they'll say if any laws have been broken, and then people could be subpoenaed or possibly arrested. So this ain't over, like they say in the NFL, until the fat lady sings.
Absolutely. And nor is the thing in New Jersey, folks, because, yes, the mayor was arrested, but they are, as Mark made reference to, they do it in Worcester, reviewing the tapes and going to look at it, and a further arrest could come by. Mark, thank you for the call. Always interesting. So to bring, let's get up on speed on this, because the association, or the Worcester Police Association, is actually pushing for some charges because the police officers were assaulted. So this story, as Mark was saying, it's a Worcester story. We're a Worcester station, but it's made national news, and it's certainly something we can talk as a regional station as well. And it's the kind of, power keg that raises serious questions about law, order, and the role of elected officials, which seems that a lot of them quite frankly, forgetting what their role is or the scope of their purpose. And we've got to, Ted, you want to, I knew you were going to want to jump in here at some
Well,
point.
there's a big difference between civil disobedience and outright law breaking.
Absolutely. And this goes for the protesters, which have drawn attention to this over and over again. Peaceful protests, it's actually part of the fabric of the nation. It's in the Constitution, the right to freedom of speech, to peacefully protest. And then you've got Jamoxa Cuomo on CNN saying, or was it Don Lemon? It was one of those fired people who said something, where is it written that protests have to be peaceful? It's like, seriously? You can't even, there's like no self-awareness how idiotic that statement was. But when you cross the line from peaceful protest to breaking the law, and whether that is aiding a felon or someone with an arrest warrant or ICE detainer to evade the federal agents, which is absolutely a crime, or doing what they did here, which we'll get into, you crossed the line. And remember because I thought it was one of the best things, I think it was Coachella or whatever it was a couple of years ago. And environmentalists were protesting and they blocked the road into Coachella. Now, Coachella is that big music festival, but it's Native American land that you have to go through to get to this big party in the desert, basically. And these protesters went out there and they put a trailer and all this stuff. And what they, I guess, didn't calculate incorrectly or maybe at all was this was tribal land. So these are Native American police officers, tribal police. And they're videotaping their own thing to pat themselves on the back and do the social media thing. And all of a sudden you see the tribal police SUV come in and blasts right through the trailer, spins around, he does a U-turn, and they're all like, oh, that's awful, until he gets out of his police vehicle, draws weapon on them and orders them to the ground and proceeds to start arresting all these people. And there's one Karen in the group who is continually shouting, but we're protesters, we're environmental protesters. And you could tell that she could not, for the life of her, calculate this, to process in her head, because she is so righteous and so right that the law does not apply to her. Don't you see that? We're environmental protesters. Don't you know we have an exemption from the law? We don't have to behave like everyone else. She seriously could not get this, as he proceeded to slap the cuffs while they're face down. Now, there is, if you go look at this clip, there is one lady who apparently got the message. She read the room, because you see her kind of almost cartoon style back away a little bit and then just quietly walks off and gets the hell out of the way. She's like, okay, this is not going well. And she sees that. But going back to this, folks, in Worcester, it's a question about what is the role that you have. And we've got a city councilor alleged putting hands on cops, both local and federal. So you have the Worcester Police Department who responded because they're trying to block the vehicle that ICE is using during an ICE operation, a chaotic scene, an unruly crowd, a counselor accused of inciting the crowd, and a community caught in the middle here. So the incident occurred on the 8th. It's in the morning, about 11:15 on Eureka Street in Worcester. ICE agents were attempting to detain Ferreira de Oliveira, an illegal immigrant accused of violent crimes. Now, that's an important thing to me anyway. You know, ground zero, we start at the fact that they illegally entered the country, so you've broken the law already. We got all that. Everybody seems to forget that, you know, everybody coming in is the next Bill Gates or the next scientists are going to, you know, cure cancer. And there is a path. If you want to come to this country as a student, you can do that. If you want to come to this country as an entrepreneur, you can actually do that. And now we have the $5 million Trump gold card, by the way, but that's going to be only for a few people. But there are people that will, if you commit, not even have to put all the money down. If you commit to a certain amount, say $100,000 in investment that could create jobs, you will get a green card and residency here as a resident alien. But if you illegally enter the country, you broke the law and you're illegally here. You have no legal status. So this occurred on Eureka Street, Monday, May 8th, 11:15 a.m. ICE agents were attempting to detain Ferrara. And these charges, the violent charges, are including assault with a dangerous weapon and assault on a pregnant woman. The arrest drew a crowd of about 25 protesters, including Councilor Etel, and I don't know if I'm going to butcher the name, Haxia, District 5, okay, the councilor from District 5, who reportedly attempted to block the arrest and escalate the tensions there. Now you have to wonder, she got elected. And just because you can get elected doesn't mean you particularly know what you're doing, by the way. Okay. Getting elected and your ability to do the job are not the same thing. So the job interview for a city council or state rep or any of these things is the election. But we don't do that. I mean, that's what these, debates are supposed to do, and interviews by media are supposed to do that. But do they really do it? Anyway, this counselor is elected. Doesn't mean that she has any idea. Is Etel a male or female, by the way? Any idea? All right. My apologies. I don't know the counselor. I only know from the story. So the counselor of the 5th district gets elected. Does not mean that this person even understands what the job is, the scope of the authority of that job, or what they are able and not able to do. So the council is accused by Worcester Police Union of inciting a crowd during an ICE arrest, physically assaulting both Worcester police and federal officers. It's a female. Using her position as an elected official to interfere with law enforcement operations. These are all serious things. These are serious crimes. You can't do that. Nor can we as a society allow it to happen because of the police or federal agents going to have a scuffle and fight off a crowd every time they go to execute an arrest warrant. Now, a 16-year-old girl, daughter of the detained woman, was arrested for reckless endangerment of a child, disorderly conduct, resisting arrest. Now, video shows her escaping momentarily before officers tackled her. The detained woman, the mother, was later released per immigration advocates, and DHS confirmed ICE successfully detained the original target, Ferrara. All right, we got to take our mid-show break here. We can talk a little bit because I would love to hear not from Worcester residents and others on how they're seeing this and whether this woman and this counselor should be held accountable or not. We'll talk about this on the other side of the break. We'll be back in 10, folks.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spearn. Here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. It's going to be warm with low and mid 70s this afternoon. Bright as well. Plenty of sunshine out there. And tonight's not going to be quite as cold. In fact, overnight lows will drop into the 50s. That's how you wake up tomorrow morning. And from there, we'll see more 70s inland and beach temperatures in the 60s for your Tuesday plans. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spearn. You can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
More live and local radio is next. Stay tuned to Radio Central, 830 WCRN.
Yetco has opened its newest Worcester location at 75 Quinsigamon Ave. To celebrate, we'll be hosting grand opening events from May 14th through May 16th. We'll offer amazing deals all week, including drinks, snacks, food, and gas. Join us for free food, snacks, drinks, raffles, and chances to win merchandise, no purchase necessary. On Friday, May 16th only from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., regular gas will be only $1.99 a gallon. Sign up for Yatco Rewards while you're there and get even more benefits. From 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., we'll have face painting, balloon twisters, and a special guest appearance by Smiley Ball, the official mascot of the Woo Sox. Yatco remains committed to giving you the best service, carrying the best products, and making your life easier. May 14th through 16th at Yatco's newest Worcester location, 75 Quinsigamon Ave. We can't wait to see you and celebrate.
I'm Lee Gaudette from Gaudette Insurance and the Gaudette Insurance Show. You're listening to Radio Central, AM 830 WCRN.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. I am Joe Mangiacotti, and you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. And don't forget that we do have our text line up and running at 617-297-8388. And from 873, Mayor LaMonica MacGyvered herself into jail in New Jersey. So we have a similar incident happening with the ICE detention center down in New Jersey. I think Newark it was, right? And of course, they have enough problems with the FAA stuff going on. We'll put a pin in that. But coming back to, and I think we struck a nerve here, we got full lines at 508-871-7000. So the Worcester Police Officers Union's demanding a full ethics investigation, saying that just the counselor, Hex-Ja, is unfit to serve. Meanwhile, the counselor accused of the assault and the incitement has publicly, or at least before he came on the air, has not responded as of airtime anyway. DHS and ICE backing law enforcement, calling for the counselor's actions as a political stunt. Immigration advocacy groups, of course, they're condemning ICE tactics, which, again, they're performing the actual duties prescribed in their charter. That is to find, detain, and arrest illegals, and especially those that have committed serious crimes after illegally coming in the country, which is this situation here.
You mean like enforcing the law?
Kind of like that. Very similar in a lot of ways. And they claim operation traumatized family with young children. I'm kind of sick of that. Every time police have to arrest a drug dealer, a bank robber, somebody who vandalizes or assaults or drunk driver, and police have arrested parents for drunk driving while their child is in the car. So who should you have a problem with? The police officer getting that drunk driver off the road, or the parent who endangered that child by driving drunk with them in the car? But these people are separated from their children and their spouses every day. It's part of the consequence of breaking the law, folks. I do not understand why you're expected to have special rules when they're illegal immigrants. And of course, the local residents are torn between public safety concerns and support for the immigrant families. Now, you can support the immigrant family in the sense that, hey, go get your stuff done legally, but you can't do it by breaking them out of custody or concealing them, by the way. That's also a crime. 508-871-7000. Let's go through the phones. We have full lines. We'll start with Tyler first. Tyler, what say you?
I say that blinded by anger and rage, a cop is just doing his job. But the self-hatred, there is a lot of gross and imbalanced toxemia, emotion and drug and alcohol. They don't realize the kids, the so-called kids they love, they're probably going to get killed on their way home with a drunk driving mom. It happens all the time. They intercept and prevent and save a life. But when you're blinded by malicious and angry spirits, this is what happens. And that petunia girl, the 15 or 16, he's kicking the crap out of the car. The one they arrested did a two-piece bang-up job. She was either contracted to attack a pregnant girl or was jealous. These aren't quality people. Don't expect quality actions in video, but expect to see people that are doing this to us under a criminal assault on their knees with their shirts and their white shorts and their hair clean, and they go back to where they came from. It's something called innovation. Innovation means the habeas corpus, right to due process, is automatically suspended. Translation, when a junkie's breaking in your house to rob you and your family, you don't tell the cops, stop, I want to see an arrest warrant. You don't need one. There is no due process. And this is the ending point. You have a pack of hypocrites who imagine getting a 7-year-old plane that he would have to pay $3 to $5 billion for from Boeing, and he's doing it out in the open. They need LLCs and backdoor lobbies and blocker corporations. Just tell them to grow up and do what's right for the economy and the country and the people. Not playing games.
Yeah, absolutely, Tyler. Thank you for the call. I greatly appreciate it. I do want to make one point because Tyler used the word due process multiple times. In due process, it seems like when they use that term, the advocates and for the immigrants, that means the due process is this big lengthy trial, right, with a jury and a selection. No, due process means the process due for the situation at hand. And when you illegally enter the country, there is no trial. You're allowed to be detained and deported on that alone. If you invoke that you want asylum, then that kicks in a certain process. Now, most of the asylum requests are actually not granted because you're talking about people who aren't fleeing from danger because they have either taken their time and they've crossed through 2 or 3 other countries before they've come to the United States. So any argument of you have to take me in because I'll be murdered if I go home, which is in essence what asylum is, to protect you because you're being persecuted or prosecuted. Well, if you've been living comfortably somewhere in South America because you left Haiti 10 years ago, there's really no sense of urgency. Of course, the international maritime law says that when you seek asylum, the first port of entry or the first port that you get to that offers you safety, that's it. You can't shop countries for asylum. That's not how that works. And it was President Barack Hussein Obama who actually did, by executive order, suspending any other process that you're allowed to, and he still holds the record for most deported folks. I'm sure Trump administration will probably surpass it, but right now it's Barack Obama, and he suspended by executive order any of that process that you're allowed to just simply catch and deport. So due process means the process due for that situation. It's not a lengthy trial. As a matter of fact, there's no trial involved at all. And only when you ask for asylum, it's a asylum hearing is what you get. 508-871-7000. Let's go to Tom. Been waiting patiently. Hey, Tom, what say you?
Hey, I got 3 things. I'm just going to give you the titles. I won't go into them. They made a mistake at Eldridge Street. They were being too kind. No more kindness. When you see her, you arrest her, put her in a paddy wagon and get her out of there. She had her baby. She had her daughter there. They could have put the baby in the cruiser, another cruiser, called somebody to pick it up. They waited an hour. Oh, she was broken-hearted. She was calling all the protesters up there. That's why they were saying, where the hell they came out of the woodwork? This big mouth, instead of calling somebody to get her baby, safety of her baby, she brought the protesters up. That's what they were saying.
Okay.
That's why you got to get the people out of there. When you arrest them, you don't fight around an hour waiting. I'd say, screw that. You take the baby, put her on the side, then. And also, she's a nut. That city councilor in Worcester, the one in Worcester, Hajid.
Yeah.
You ever talk to her? She's a goddamn nut.
Whoa.
Like,
Got it.
Hamas.
Really? Okay.
Oh,
Tom, we always got to watch the language on that. Thank you for the call, though. Appreciate it. But a good point is made on that. And I'm sure Ted hit the button on that. So you're probably going to pick this up 7 seconds later. Yeah. So he actually made a good point on this, because if the ICE federal officers were actually, trying to do this and took enough time, she and maybe the counselor called in reinforcements, that's probably not the smartest thing. I would go back to, yes, do your job, grab them. And if your minor child is in possession, we have a system set up for that. I'm going to go back to the example of arresting a drunk driving and the parent has a child in the car. Well, usually they ask, is there the other spouse, the husband or the wife, come get the child? Is there a family member? If not available to do that, there is emergency care. In other words, Department of Children have, and I was one of these people at one time, that you get a call anytime and they say, we've got a 7-year-old kid, a 14-year-old kid, they're in the office up there in Vernon Hill. Can you come take them home because we have no place to put them?
And
it's
that's
emergency
due process.
placement, and that is the due process for that certain circumstance. And in other words, your child, if there's no family member, then they're taken into foster. Well, not like foster care being assigned to a parent right then. Emergency, somebody on their list will take that child for the night. Or maybe it turns into a 3 nights. It's happened, okay?
It happens in high schools.
It does.
Where the child cannot be sent back home.
Yeah. And because teachers are mandated reporters. So if they have a situation where a child is malnutritioned, is not being bathed, doesn't have proper clothing, shows up at school in winter with no shoes, you get the picture. They're not sending the child home, right? Department of Children are going to be called in right away. They open an investigation, and they're not bringing the child home. They will
And if
keep
they
the child.
don't do it, they're culpable.
Absolutely. If something happens to that child, it's on them. So, Tom, you made a good point. I didn't realize, based on what I've read so far, that they spend so much time just dillying around there, allowing the word apparently to get out. Because I should really learn from this. I would say, if you've got a detention order, arrest order, move in, make your arrest, bring them in custody, and get out of the situation as soon as possible. I know
Joe,
they like to refer to it as disappearing people.
You've worked with a lot more cops than I have, but one of the things I learned hanging out is that you're in and out.
Yeah.
You're in and out. There's none of this standing by for more information.
Or allowing the person you're detaining to call protesters and things of that nature. And even usually when police pull you over and you say, I want to call my... Absolutely. You get your phone call. Not here. Not at the location where we're picking you up. We're going to take you into custody. We're going to bring you back to the safety of the station or a federal detention center. You're going to be given your phone call to your attorney or family or whatever you're going to do. So based on that, I'm thinking that probably wasn't the wisest thing for the ICE people to hang around so long and allow 25, 30 people to a phone chain? Did they do a phone chain and get everybody out there? I saw a little bit of the video from this in the kick-in and trying to stand in front of their vehicles and things of that nature. Again, way outside of the scope of their authority, at least for District Number 5 Councilor. 508-871-7000. Ken, we're actually hold on through the break because we got to take the break. I'd be able to say hi to you and then tell you to hold. So hold on. We'll come right to the phones on the other side of the break here, folks. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Some lines are open and available now. And don't forget that our text line at 617-297-8388 is also open and available. All right, folks, back for the fourth segment in 2 in 10. Stick with us.
Go on, go on! Oh, that's unbelievable! Hi, folks. This is Mike Stacey, head professional at Norton Country Club, welcoming you to the start of the 2025 golf season. Norton Country Club is a championship 18-hole golf course located just minutes off of 495. The course came through the winter grade, and we're open for daily fee, as well as having membership opportunities and outings available. Our clubhouse is a great venue for your wedding or group gathering needs. If you're interested, call 508-285-2400, extension 1 for events, or 103 for golf, as well as nortoncountryclub.com. Hope to see you out there.
Perner Logging and Land Clearing. Fully equipped with state-of-the-art equipment to handle all of your lot and land clearing needs, whether it's 1 acre or 100. They regularly service customers in the local area and will travel to neighboring communities and beyond to get the job done. Now, whether you're doing new construction, renovations, or clearing land for a new development, the Perner Logging and Land Clearing team of experienced personnel makes small or large jobs run efficiently, giving them the ability to always keep the competitive edge. They'll quote your job from something small to hundreds of acres, factoring in all aspects, including the wood salvage value, if any. In addition, they have the right equipment for each size job. making for the most efficient job site possible. For every job, Perner Logging and Land Clearing make sure the client's goals are the main objective. Call Perner Logging and Land Clearing today for a free estimate, 978-270-9916. That's 978-270-9916.
The Hanover Theater is honored to be the home of the mighty Wurlitzer. Join us on May 25th at 2 p.m. for the classic silent film Safety Last, accompanied by the prominent Clark Wilson on New England's largest theatrical pipe organ. This 1923 romantic comedy stars Harold Lloyd and established the actor as a major figure in early motion pictures. Tickets for Safety Last are just $20. Please contact the box office or visit thehanovertheater.org for more information.
All right, folks, welcome back for the fourth and final segment here on the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. I hope you had a fantastic weekend, fantastic Mother's Day. Happy belated Mother's Day to all the moms out there. We're talking about the situation in Worcester with ICE arresting and taking into custody a woman with violent crimes hanging over, and then a protest. And I didn't realize till I think Tom or one of the callers pointed out that the ICE hung around there for like an hour, giving enough time to call a lot of the protesters. But the point is the the Worcester Police Association, they want the investigation. They want some charges here. This raises questions of abuse of power, ethical violations, of course, public trust. And, you know, when it comes to the community and policing, some view ICE as aggressive and unwelcome. Well, they're as aggressive as they need to be, just like all police are as aggressive as they need to be for a given situation. Believe me, police, especially in today's atmosphere, if they are more aggressive, overly aggressive, they're getting called on the carpet here. They're this is where the body cameras help out, which the irony of that is police were very apprehensive about when it was first introduced as an idea. Now, most police officers I know love body camera because it more often than not actually tells the truth and clears them. Exonerates them because they get these ridiculous accusations of police brutality or even racism. And the cameras have turned to protect them in most cases.
You know, Joe, I haven't seen the timeline on this incident, but I do remember reading that it took ICE a little while to find the actual person, and there were many people.
So the word was spreading that ICE was looking for this particular person. That could have started the phone tree thing.
And they extend the amount of time.
Yeah.
They weren't able to get in and get out.
So that could play a big role in it. So this also, people say that allowing elected officials to interfere in arrests sets a dangerous precedent. Of course it does. You as a district councilor or a state rep or a mayor doesn't mean you get to go wherever the hell you want. And that mayor's charged with trespassing. That's a federal property. He has no authority going there. And the irony of that in New Jersey, they would have said, if they had said, we want a tour, we'd like to look at it, they would have said, no problem, let's set that up. But they didn't. They bum rashed a truck that went in there. But back to the Worcester situation. Then you got the media situation, right? Progressive outlets are framing this council as protecting vulnerable families. Well, you do that from city hall chambers. You see what I'm saying? And then law enforcement and conservative voices say she endangered lives and obstructed justice. Yes, she did. Maybe I'm one of those voices. 508-871-7000. Ken's been waiting very patiently. You were bottom of the list on the call tree there. Sorry about that, Ken. What say you?
Well, it's good that it's active, Joe.
Yeah, we hit a nerve with this topic, apparently.
Well, the lawless loony left is going wild.
Yeah.
It's getting everybody's attention. But let me just fill you in a few things. The counselor's last name is pronounced Ajihab.
Ajia?
And
okay.
Ajihab.
Ajihab. Got it. Ajihab.
So Tom was pretty close when he tried. I've just heard it in the morning over 100 times. I cut it down.
Yeah, that's it. You got to hear it a couple times, and I did not hear this morning's show. So
Ajihab 2 and King, there's a lot of nuts in Worcester, and they're all elected. So That's just reality. But I think you're starting to put pieces together just now as to what happened. Obviously, this person that was detained had a group of protectors who got a heads up. And Mark has been asking multiple shows, hey, who gave him the head up? And he's got a great question.
Yeah, who did?
More will come, but effectively, there's no way for ICE to simply pick somebody off the street, which is the only means by which they have in their process. They don't do warrants. They don't go into houses. They pick up people on the street, which was this case.
Or they wait for them to finish a court session, like they should, because it's a controlled environment where you know they're not armed.
It has to be in a public setting. That's the boundaries that they have. And when they got to this detainee, there was a crowd, and the crowd would not let the vehicle that they put the detainee in exit or move forward. They surrounded him.
I saw the video on that.
Laying on the hood of the vehicle. You get the picture?
Yeah. I saw a little bit of the video, and I go ahead, finish your thought, and we'll circle back to that.
So that's when ICE called Worcester PD. And Worcester PD does have the instruction to only assist in a situation like this where there's a public disturbance. So they did their job, and they got punched in an earful and the whole 9 yards. And that's virtue signaling these days. They care. That's what it's all about. You want to figure out? They're not thinking. It's only virtue signaling. That's their only language. And they can't possibly be wrong. There's no rationality in it.
Yeah, exactly. And these public officials that are on this side that think this, you're right. This is the only currency that they seem to have, forgetting the fact that they usually a part of the body that makes ordinances and laws. But let's put a pin in that. It's the attitude that they're above the law, that because they're this elected official, that they seem to be able to do things that are against the law and breaking the law. And it doesn't. And that's why there has to be what happened in New Jersey and what's probably going to happen in Worcester. I would think that there'll be some more arrests once they're able to analyze a lot of the statements, witness statements, and the video, of course, is going to be very important. And the Worcester Patrolmen's Association is calling for an investigation, and they're calling for arrests.
In my experience, the union's not going to go out on a limb like that unless there's a good reason.
Yeah, that means they feel that an officer was unjustly hurt and assaulted, and they can't let that stand. And I get that. I agree with that, because if there are no consequences of this behavior, then there's no deterrent from doing it in the future.
Oh, your logic is all there, but put yourself now in the shoes of the state attorney general. What do you think she's going to do? My bet is she's going to squash any attempt.
Well, here's the thing.
Go after
there's the attorney general, and then there's the U.S. attorney for this district. And these are federal officers. So the U.S. attorney can actually come in and override the attorney general and bring federal charges. So depending on the moxie of that person, what would happen here? I mean, look what Trump just did in D.C. He put Judge Jeanine Pirro as the acting U.S. attorney for D.C. She scares me on the 5. She's been on the show before. I've had her on before. She's a smart woman.
Did you get part of that story with Ed Martin?
Say again, what story?
So Ed Martin's the person that Jeanine is
replacing, yeah.
Because, he had 120 days, and you had Tillis in North Carolina was blocking him getting the job permanently. So he's talking to a reporter on D.C. streets, and you got this like 110-pound petite woman go up to him and spit in his face.
Whoa.
That's the virtue signal idiocy that we're dealing with, and it's just going to keep exploding.
Yeah. Look, this here's the simple thing on this, right? You can protest, you can even stand up for your constituents, but you can't do what no one can do is put your hands on a police officer trying to do their job, especially when it involves a violent offender. This wasn't about immigration policy. It was about public safety. You don't stop an arrest by jumping into the middle of it or on the vehicle or assaulting the officer unless you want chaos. And they wanted this person, they wanted chaos, and they wanted, riddle me this, guys. Do they really think that if they're animalistic enough and crazy, and like the federal office, the ICE agents are going to go, all right, I give up. It's too much hassle for me. All right, you can just stay here. It's never going to happen. In other words, if you do this, it will escalate the situation. And in the end, you will not do well because it will be continued to escalate until it's under control by the authorities. It's like arguing your case with the trooper at 3 a.m. while you're drunk on 290. Not the smartest thing to do.
But Joe, just finish. Holman is not giving up. The problem is they're going to overwhelm our court system. The DOJ is going to have so many cases. A day later is New Jersey. You don't think there's going to be others popping up left and right over the next few days and weeks? They're not giving up. They're overwhelming.
Well, you know what? People have been waiting, despite being entitled to a speedy trial. People have gone 2 and 3 years to get their day in court. And if it's something like this, it can be continued. I say, go ahead, put more judges on. In other words, you don't get away with breaking the law because it's too much work to prosecute you. That's never been the case. Now, deals are made. That's called a plea bargain. They're done every day, and they're done, why, Ken? In the interest of the docket, of saving taxpayers hundreds, if not millions of dollars in trials. If you can, if the prosecuting authority can get a reasonable conviction with a plea bargain and the allocution, then they take it. It's part of the justice weighing system here. So
where are these cases going to be held, Joe? They're going to be held in deep blue areas.
Absolutely,
that's the trick.
Absolutely, they are. Which of course they can argue for a change of venue. I don't know if they'll get it, but
when is the public going to stand up for their future? Because it's going to rot away.
Exactly.
Stand up and ensure these culprits.
That's what I'm saying. Ken, thank you for the call. We're hitting the clock here. Again, always a great call, and thanks for all the calls today, folks. But that does bring us to the end of the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. I want to remind you that tomorrow I'll be broadcasting from the American Heritage Museum in Hudson and Stowe, the Collins Center. We'll broadcast 1 to 2 as I always do. We'll have great interviews there. We'll talk more about the collection that there. It's fantastic to have this in our backyard. And I was thrilled to find out about it, folks. And don't forget, the show is turned into a podcast, and you can subscribe to the Joe Mangiacotti Show podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. But this will wrap up the Monday edition, folks. So, Joe out. Have a great day.